Montgomery, Hess News Radio, WRVA, the voice of Virginia.
Out at 52:20.
9:33, the experiment. 9:33, the experiment with Rich Herrera. The 9:33 experiment. 9:33.
All right, time for the 9:33 experiment. We call it that because I have no idea what's going to happen. I really don't. Sometimes this just takes off. Tons of phone calls. We get people all fired up. Other times it's a ton of text messages. Sometimes people, whatever. Again, it's just unscripted radio. It's just unscripted radio because I think more talk is better than less. More speech is better than less speech. And quite honestly, I just think the American people need a bigger voice. And we need to learn how to use that voice. That's why I take this experiment very seriously. And when I open up the phone lines, that's why I had to fight for it so bad. I'm like, guys, I think this is important that we have an opportunity for people to be able to sound off on things. So go ahead and sound off right now. Here's the thing that I want to talk about. Here's the thing that I think is important that we discussed today. And I could tell by your comments this morning on the James River Air text line, there's some people that have some things to get off their chest. So here's the bottom line. The DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, they've come out with their platform. And boy, is it something. The platform they came out with is they want to get rid of the presidency. President gone. Oh, what? That's one of the things that they're running on in their platform. They want to get rid of the presidency. They would rather go to a leader that is selected by Congress and subordinate to Congress, something closer to a parliamentary prime minister that could be replaced at a moment's notice. Okay. The next thing they want to do is replace the current Supreme Court structure with a judiciary chosen by and accountable to, guess what? Congress. Supreme Court, you're out. So either the Democrats want to do one of two things. They want to pack the court or they want to destroy the court now. The Democratic Party has gone on and said, we want to pack the court because we're not getting the decisions we want. We hate this court. Let's pack the court. Let's add up to 15 justices to make sure that the court rules the way that we want. Oh, by the way, I got to give the phone number for people to call in, 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. That's the number for you to join us. You can also send us text messages on the James River Air text line, 833-804-1140. Either way, you can get a hold of us, make your voice heard. James River Air text line, 833-804-1140, or you can call into the program one time that we open up the phone lines for you. So they either want to, on the Democratic side, the sane part of the Democratic Party, let's pack the court. On the insane part of the Democratic Party with the Democratic Socialists of America, let's just replace the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Let's get rid of what we have, which is checks and balances. Wow. I mean, we're talking about people that want to completely remake. That's where they use that word reimagine. Can you reimagine a world where we have no police and no jails? Yeah, it's called Fantasyland, or it's a John Lennon song. But now they have pen to paper and they put it out there for the world to know this is their national platform. And part of this national platform is the Supreme Court is now chosen by and under the thumb of Congress. Okay. This is a big one. The Electoral College. They want to abolish it and move towards a national popular vote system. You know why we have the Electoral College? Because we have a lot of people. By the way, sorry, but our governor signed us into the compact that if it ever goes through, that we would subjugate ourselves to the national vote, the national popular vote. Our electors would be bound not by what the people of Virginia say who should be president, but we would be bound to the national vote. which would make us subservient to bigger metropolitan areas with more people, like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. We would have to vote how they, with their overwhelming majority of the people, would have us vote. The reason why there's an electoral college is we had powerful states like Virginia, and we had teeny tiny little states like Maine. We had powerful states like North Carolina, Georgia. We had teeny tiny little states that didn't have as much. I was Maine one of the original 13. I'm sorry, I just think of this off the top of my head. But we had big, powerful states, colonies, I should say, and little tiny colonies. And the reason why they put in the Senate, oh, by the way, they also want to get rid of the U.S. Senate, saying that it is, what do they call it? Undemocratic and unrepresentative of the masses, of the people. Well, the reason why the Senate is in place and the Electoral College is in place is to make sure that the big, powerful states like Virginia didn't dominate the little states. The big, powerful states with all the money and the people, like North Carolina, Virginia, they didn't get to put their thumb on everybody else. It kept all the states equal by saying, yeah, we're going to have representation in Congress proportionally by how many people live there, but then we'll also make sure that individual states don't get trampled by the big, powerful states with all the people, because everybody, no matter who you are, New York and Rhode Island get the same amount of senators. Wyoming and California have the same amount of senators. Texas and North Dakota have the same amount of senators, so one state can't completely overwhelm the other states. And when it comes to the Electoral College, each state gets to have accurate representation based on the people that live in your state. Not it's one big state or it's one big country, and if New York and San Francisco have so many people, and Los Angeles, then they get to decide, and the rest of us can go kick rocks. That's why we put these things in place. And now the Democratic Socialists of America want to eliminate all of this. And then they go on to say, let's get rid of the War Department. Let's not have any jails. And this is the big one for a lot of people. Let's give amnesty to everyone in the country that has come here illegally. All immigrants are now full-blown. You get whatever. We'll abolish ICE. We'll get rid of all of that. I'm just amazed that there are people out there. And by the way, the DSA has grown from, this is kind of a fringe group. It's growing every day. I want to say there were like 5,000 people, 10 years ago now. Like 100,000 people, and now you've got Zorha Mamdani, you've got AOC, you've got the Squad. We're actually having people running for office that are members of the DSA that we will have full-blown socialist, communist, Marxist representing our country in the United States Congress if some of these districts that we have DSA candidates running for Congress. So my big question is, I felt this way about communism my whole life. I know why it doesn't work. I know how awful, evil it is, and I know how people lose their lives in these authoritarian regimes, because you could vote yourself into communism. You can't vote yourself out of communism. There's one way, there's a way to get in, and that you could vote yourself into communism, but once they take over and the collective gets bigger, there's no way for you to leave communism, because what you do in a capitalist society, we're all working for each other. We all have our own free will. We all have the ability to succeed by our own hands and hard work and God's graces. In communism, you all become part of a collective, and that collective is more important than the individual. I'll give you an example. In Russia right now, Vladimir Putin's just throwing wave after wave after wave after wave of soldiers into Ukraine, and they're just getting destroyed. They are taking so many casualties. Why doesn't he stop? Well, because it's a collective. That individual soldier fighting for Russia under the communist regime and the collective, he's not as important as the whole collective. So I can send wave after wave after wave in there, and it doesn't matter. I can just throw everything I can at them, because the individual doesn't matter as much as the collective. That's the extreme version of what collectivism is. And that's what socialism is. That's why it's social. It's collectivism. I've told this story before, why I'll always reject it, because I know human nature. I saw it for myself as a kid working in the fields. We had a crew. All of us had to work. I hustled more so I can get a break to get water and get in the shade. And they said, no, you got to go back and help everybody else. And I saw that there was a disincentive for hard work. And there was an incentive of, well, hey, we're all going to get paid the same. We're all working together as a group. Why do I got to hustle and try? Let's take telephone calls, shall we? 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. All right, somebody says, aren't these people supposed to take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, the treason? Let the charges come forth. I don't. Yes, there is.
Mary.
But being a member of the DSA isn't quite there. Let's see. Let me go to Mary on line one. Hey, Mary, welcome. You're on the 933 experiment. Good morning.
Good morning. I have two questions for you.
Yes.
But Virginia, having put us back into this coalition of the National Popular Vote
Compact, yeah.
outcomes, isn't that disenfranchising my rights to actually proceed under the Electoral College? And wouldn't that be a lawsuit that could go into federal court? I mean, one. And number two, when you talk about abolishing the Senate, talking about abolishing the Electoral College, changing the Supreme Court, these are all things that are, many of which are enshrined in our institutions. How do they expect to do that? Are they going to do it through state elections? Is it going to be
I have
at the end of
no
a gun?
idea. I mean, all of this stuff is just mind-blowingly different. So I have no idea whether they get in office and they do it through legislative process. They do it however they do it, by force, by hook, or by crook. I don't know. Let me touch the first one. Let me take care of the first one for you. As far as entering this into the National Popular Vote Compact, every state, or in our case, Commonwealth, gets to choose their electors by their own means. So not everybody does it the same way. There's Nebraska, for instance, will give them out by congressional districts. Others will do the popular vote. There's everybody gets to send their electors to the Electoral College in their own way. So if we join that as Virginians, we would decide by the hand of the governor who signed us into it, or however they get to it. If we decide by elected officials, that's how we'll send our electors, and they are bound to vote not by what the people of Virginia have said, but what the national vote is. Then that would actually be legal, and no, we wouldn't have anything to stand on.
But aren't the citizens of Virginia supposed to vote on something like that?
Well, you would.
Or is it a diktat from our governor?
I mean, she entered us into it. We're not there yet. And what she said is we will pledge that if this passes enough, and there's a whole bunch of things, but it just puts us on that path if we ever get there, which is again disappointing to me, because she ran as a moderate, and that's as least moderate as a lot of things that I can say.
Yeah, but well, thank you very much for that distinction, because I, as a citizen of the state of Virginia, would actually like to have a vote on that by just not the deputies or the Senate, by like a referendum of the people.
Oh yeah, no, it would go through. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that would have to get through there. But Mary, can I be honest with you?
Sure.
This is just crazy talk from us. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
Because you and I already know that what we've seen out of this General Assembly, they wanted to fix the votes anyway. I mean, it's not like this should be a surprise to anybody. When they tried to gerrymander, right, they were going to fix it so they had a 10-1 guaranteed. I don't care who you were. If you're a Democrat, you're set up to win by the way we drew those maps. And if you're a Republican, you're guaranteed to win in Southwest Virginia. And that was it, which basically would be taking your vote away, because they drew the maps in a way that it doesn't matter who shows up to vote. They were fixed and rigged. And that's why they said it's 10-1.
Right. I understand that. And I also understood that actually our state Supreme Court said, go ahead, hold this vote, and then we will decide based on the Constitution of the state of Virginia if this is going to go forward or not. They made that very clear, which is why when our Attorney General immediately went to the state court and said, I want this vote ratified the next day after the vote, the state Supreme Court 7-zip said, no, we are not ratifying this vote. So, I mean, it was pretty clear what was going to happen there.
Well, okay, so I actually went there that day to watch the arguments. It was kind of cool going into the Supreme Court. I had never done that before, Mary, but I thought it was important for me to be there. The Tazewell judge was right all along.
Oh my, he was from the very beginning when he said this is unconstitutional.
And Mary, by the way, Mary, has anybody ever, have you heard anybody in the media actually say that? The Tazewell judge who ruled before?
Yes, actually, I've heard you say.
Okay, I have. Well, see, that's why you listen to me. I'm not bragging. I'm not flexing. But that Tazewell judge was right all along. And everybody else wanted to rip into him. But have you seen anybody backtrack? Have you seen anybody apologize? Because his original standing that came before the election stood.
Oh, definitely before.
Yeah, it
and
stood.
I also want to point out something to you. Our Governor Spanberger was stupid enough to say after that election, this is disenfranchised 3 million of our voters. And I thought, had it gone the other way, you would have been disenfranchising almost the same amount of your voters. It was not a good situation from beginning to end.
It would have disenfranchised 100% of the voters. That if the maps were rigged, then it doesn't matter whether I show up to vote or not. And as far as the 3 million voters that were disenfranchised by the court ruling, they weren't disenfranchised. The original standing never gave it the legal authority to go forth, but the governor and the General Assembly decided that they were going to ignore that original lawsuit that stood the test of time. Because you see, the Supreme Court didn't rule in favor of anything. They just said, Tazewell, Judge Hurley, you're right. They just affirmed what he said. It wasn't they overturned this, overturned that. They just simply said, you know what, that Tazewell judge was right all along. We're throwing all this out. He was right all along. No one gives him credit.
And so $70 million was spent for nothing. But that was $70 million of campaign money coming in from out of state. I think we spent as a Commonwealth like $10 million or something like that. I'll have to ask some members of the General Assembly, but that's basically what it is. Hey, Mary, I've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much. Appreciate you more than you'll ever know. That was awesome. Text messages coming in. These are all too long. You got to give me just a little bit. Somebody else, again, how come the DSA all wants to take my money, but they don't give their back? Rich education system was taken over by communists in the 1960s. That's why kids embrace communism. I think the big thing is all these kids. Remember that song, I Never Promised You a Rose Garden? These kids were promised a rose garden. Go to William and Mary. Go to UVA. Go to these Ivy League schools and study, do well, and then when you get out, you're going to have your dreams come true. And when they got out, they majored in sociology and have $300,000 in debt, and they can't find a job. And they wonder, well, wait a minute, I was supposed to be able to have an amazing lifestyle, and I don't have it. This sucks. I'm going to become a communist, and they can just give me what I've been promised. I think that's where it's coming from. All right, that's it. We're done. I got to get out of the way. Let's see. Today's program is brought to you in part by our good friends, and they bring you our national anthem each and every day. Freedom Services are training the biggest little gun store in town located in Mechanicsville. I get up every morning because there's some things I think we're standing up for. It's always going to be my family and this great country. That's why we do it every morning here on News Radio WRVA.
Please stand for the national anthem of the United States of America.